honestly, for the side of Homeboys, I wanted to see the Julian mid over the Xavier.
Yeah.
Because back in MPL Indonesia, when he was playing, that was Udil's signature pick too.
Well, either way, it's game at number 1 here. Land of Dawn, we're going to jump in. Tournament lives, of course, online in the single elimination bracket, the match. The last team that wins this will be one of the last 4 to proceed on to the next few days here as we finalize the MSC 2024 at EWC. Now taking a look at things, of course, the Nolan in the hands of Hades here hasn't popped up too much. Nolan has been a little bit slept on lately, but look at this aggression already on the top side. And that's the thing too, man, the Kaja. The Kaja played such a big role in the matches that we saw even yesterday, being a key component for a lot of teams winning. And so far, a lot of this early poking already coming down. Okay, GB just gets on out of there. And yeah, you know, looking at the lineup too over here for Homeboys, got the Warcry emblem, of course, for Chibi to roll around with this Hayabusa.
Wow.
And I think that's the same thing, man. The Xavier is another pick that has been sort of niche for some teams.
But it's been doing really good. I think even the wild card, every time we saw a Xavier, it was able to get to its item power spikes relatively quickly. And in these, you know, in this kind of meta where a lot of teams are just going to be contesting neutral objectives, fighting 5v5s, the Mystic Field finds so much more value. And that's exactly what we saw in the wild card. I think we also saw the Xavier in the... It was Sanji, yeah. It was Sanji, TLPH versus Homeboys. And in the interview, Udil literally said, you know, hey, we've been learning from that loss against Team Liquid. I think for all the teams that will be going up against us as well, they'll be learning from that match. It seems they're going to take that Xavier away from that match, and maybe they might be able to make it work as well.
Yeah, they might be able to. And why don't you go ahead and hand me that Kit Kat right there, because we're going to have a break.
I got you.
Thank you very much. So, well, we get to talk about some of the lineups here, of course, for both these teams still. I think Xavier's, like, one of the most powerful things about him is, remember that we were actually casting that game.
Yes.
Where we were counting, how many seconds that cooldown was.
11 seconds.
11 seconds. And it actually, even before it got to the 11-second cooldown on the Dawning Light, you know, even early on, like the mid-game pressure that's still there, like you mentioned with the Mystic Field, and then Dawning Light being relatively low cooldown is something that teams can play around with. And I think when you pair it up with the fact that, all right, we got a Hayabusa, he's able to, hopefully you can kind of whittle down some of the members with Dawning Light, trap them up in the Mystic Field, and then maybe allows the entry point for this Hayabusa to shine. And possibly, depending on the build that's going to happen here, but I'm assuming Skypiercer might be one of the items, you know, and then you can scale off that. And I think they actually rounded up the lineup really well with having a Ruby and a Grok as well, right? You cover up the front, you cover up your ability to go ahead and peel if you need to, or initiate using that Ruby. And then, of course, these nets on the Old Faithful Roger. You know, time and time again, I still think it works great in the jungle, but with this time around in the hands of nets, there's so many things that can happen here when it comes to the team fights. And I think really when you look at NIP Flash, playing defensively against that, I'm not sure if they want to be defensive, because look at their lineup. You know, they want to be picking off fights. They want to go roll with the Divine Judgment. And man, can I just say too, if they get a Divine Judgment, it's almost an automatic kill, I'd say, because of the power of a Nolan and a Farsa. The burst damage early game, yeah, that's tough to deal with if you're Homeboys.
It is. It's really going to be tough, I think, in terms of poke as well. Like you said, you know, they have the Farsa and these close team fights. They got that Nolan, they got the Harrods. So many ways for an IP Flash to actually take control of the game and force the fast pace. Because if they are able to force the fast pace against Homeboys, against a composition that is pretty strong as well in the early game, but we do have to talk about that Xavier being more of a mid to late game threat still, right? You apply a lot of utility in the early game, and that's what you get for the Xavier. So technically, when we're talking about the early game matchup, the Xavier is not really going to be able to dish out as much damage as the Farsa. So as long as NIP Flash play discipline, this is something that we were also talking about off stream, you know? If they can take it slower than Homeboys want, it'll be great for them. Wait on a Divine Judgment, play with the timings, and play with the cycle of abilities that they have. Because once they do use, though, you know, these big burst abilities, those cooldowns are pretty big. Yeah. And for Homeboys, that's what they want to capitalize on. They want to capitalize on the longer team fights, on the longer skirmishes.
Yeah, it's kind of like really at least the play for NIP Flash is, if it's not Divine Judgment, then you have Feathered Airstrike, you know, and even for the Nolan, like, the entry point against a Grok and a Ruby is going to be a little bit difficult, you know? And I know the guys on the panel has talked about this. Oh, what is our average game time? 16 to 18 minutes, somewhere around
Depends
that time?
which game, because Falcons AP Brennan was what, 12?
Okay, yeah, that's going to skew the stats a little bit here, but we're jumping back into the game, of course, very early on, a minute and a half in, game number 1 of this best of 5. Nothing too crazy, of course. You know, we got just the boots completed pretty much for the both of them, the mid lane mages here. You can already see some pressure being applied if they can find a pick off in the mid lane. Oh, JPL.
Shadow kill onto JPL. First blood over to Homeboys with a great gank with that quad shadow.
Yep, that's the pressure I was talking about. You know, I spotted them there, and I was like, all right, they're going to go for a play. The level 4 is available. And with that, you know, Turtle now comes up. So I'm wondering if we just see a trade here. Homeboys still making their way. Yeah, this is going to be way too fast. Hades knows it. They trade that first blood over for this first objective. Going to go ahead and secure themselves the Turtle for now. Going to force Zorn back as well. So, you know, NIP Flash able to go ahead and equalize the exchange.
What would you take, Naisu, if you were like in the place of these two teams, right? Would a kill be more prio for you, or would the Turtle be more prio?
That's a good question. I'm a mid lane main, so I'd probably go for a kill and hope that I got the kill. You know, like then I can scale up. Especially, I mean, considering the two mages here too. You know, Xavier, Farsa, either one of them, if they get an early kill, it's great for them. But the fact that it went to Chibi is actually even better.
So it's really, really good. The fact that they got the Hayabusa, someone that needs to scale up and needs to go for the snowball. Divine Judgment catching Udo straight into the fracture. Even with the wall charge, unable to disengage. Chibi gonna be caught, able to pop in the shadow kill onto Hades, but he finds a double kill and will be able to get the help of Diablo and Cartesi, who is rotated all the way from the XP lane all the way up top.
I'm going back to your question. You know, it's good that it went to Chibi. As you look at the STC replay here, this is what we talked about. Divine Judgment is going to be used. They get a kill with the fracture, and then here comes Chibi. Luckily, he picked up the Sky Piercer right before that whole thing happened, so he was able to get another kill. And then, you know, it wasn't too crazy to deal with for Homeboys. So, interestingly enough, because now the Blade of Hephaestus is also in the hands of Hades, good flicker. They get the flicker out from Sapot, so that's fine for now. And again, you know, these are two lineups that they can work really good with the momentum that they're building in the early game. It's just really will come down to, once I feel like we get to mid-game, you'll have to see if NIP Flash plays around, how they play around once the Divine Judgment is gone here. So, you know, we're taking a closer look at things, of course, for Homeboys. Items coming up, item check. Nothing locked in for the first items just yet, aside from those junglers. Again, Skypiercer, only 1,500 gold. Locks that in early on. It will be interesting to see if Chibi goes just that pure damage build, or he even gets a little bit of defense, because really, you know, it's just withstanding this initial Divine Judgment. You can already see it. Lockdown happens. That's a Turtle traded for Homeboys.
Great Mystic Field, great zoning too by Zorn. Able to occupy that bush a bit faster. And now, for both these teams, you know, they're just looking for the trades. Divine Judgment now into the fracture of the Feather Airstrike as well. The Wild Charge knocks Diablo off. Final Slash to bring Udo to the last shot of the Feather Airstrike as Cortese flies by. And Udo's still able to flick around as Shadow Kill connects onto Hades. And GB will be able to quad Shadow out. Meanwhile, down below, all alone, Sapat just munching on that turret gold as NIP Flash continue with the invade. Diablo in the bottom lane now going for a little bit of a skirmish, but it's just to back Sapat away from this turret.
Okay, I mean, even with the play that they attempted in the mid lane, it was enough to also put some pressure on Nets. He had to be a little bit defensive, but luckily he has Zorn there now as well to go ahead and keep him safe for now. But
mid lane, solo kill in the mid lane, assassination from Hades. In the bottom lane, a trade back as Diablo was ganked. Two members falling on different sides of the map, but Hades, that's an item power spike. That's an SP.
He's got the Sky Piercer. He also, again, earlier, he had the Blade of Hephaestus, all right? So it just seems like Chibi is making good grounds, too. He's got the Fury Hammer now, working on his next item. But, you know, so far, both teams still trading across the map. This is going to be a little bit of a gold lead now, though, for NIP Flash as they work around this. I think for Homeboys, man, you're going to be wanting to shut Hades out at this point because of, you know, I was saying earlier, Nolan, it's a little difficult when you're playing against this Grok and Ruby, but so far, Hades is perfectly fine.
Slowly but surely, it seems, you know, for both these teams, they're just taking it as slow as they can. They're trying to look for these trades, waiting for those item power spikes. And the way it's going right now, it does feel like for Homeboys, they should be able to scale up for Udil's power spike, but the fact that he's been picked off twice means that it's going to be quite tough for him to even reach that mid game. And IP Flash with Hades having a 2-level lead, this already goes against the statistics. JPO and Reed right into Zorn and right into everyone's damage that collapsed. Now coming down, Diablo can be traded in, but Udil's going to be very low. Feather airstrike, what a prediction from Curtizi. Great read on the pathing of Udil as JPL tries to go for the zone on the GB and Suppot. This is just a roamer, and he knows it. He wants to bait as many resources as he can from Homeboys with that maneuver.
Man, it's just like, I don't know, they're just both teams just trading after trade. You know, at this point, I'll get a kill, you get a kill. Now fighting for this third turtle. Who's going to get this one?
Let's see, that's going to be GB finding the retribution. Now it's going to be like inform from Nets, trying to go in. Not good, I'm offended. The captain JPL taken down by Suppot as Diablo continues the vengeance on the Suppot now. The stun, reset the vengeance straight into the passive. Hades walks up, picks up a monster kill, and it will just be a trade again. GB though. No, he won't be able to go for it. Nope. He jumps in on the Vanish Curtizi, now jumping in as well. The Sky Piercer execute does too much. Vanix cannot survive, and it will be another kill over to Chibi, 5-0.
I feel like this is at the point, you know, where both assassin junglers are just pointing at each other. Oh, mid lane, okay, he's gonna be fine. But yeah, they're both just pointing at each other because they're both nearly doing the same thing. They're getting picks, they're using their kits really well, plus the items that they have early on. This is where these assassins shine. So I would say, again, one of the great things about NIP Flash's lineup is the fact for JPL, he's an on-demand pull into, you know, utilizing that Nolan from Hades. Whereas Homeboys, they can actually make it happen, but if it's a wild charge, great. Maybe Zorn's able to get the wild charge off, or you get a great I'm offended. But that on-demand pick-off potential, every time you see that green light for JPL, man, Divine Judgment is going to be able to make a play. Whether he has Flicker or not, here it is.
Wild charge into the Mystic Field. Zorn going to be taken down now as the Dawning Light connects onto the back line as well. Nets trying to go for the execute. Chibi finding Vanix. Nets able to flicker out to safety. It ends up being 1-for-1, but it's a gold lane for a roamer.
Yeah, gold lane for a roamer. Vanix having a little bit of difficult time on this Harith, I think, just because of how chaotic things can get. But again, if we are able to go ahead and extend this game number one a little bit further than what we've seen at least today, you know, we're just a few minutes away from that point. But also looking at the gold difference here, relatively even for the most part, you know, aside from like junglers again are going to be crucial up to a certain point. And then I think you have to start to shift your focus on especially the mid lane. Udil has struggled a bit, you know, in comparison to Curtizi, being able to utilize those lockdowns, utilize the Dawning Light, but as the game goes on,
JBL unable to find a Divine Judgment. That's a pull onto Diablo, right into the Mystic Field. Now the final slash, the wall charge connects onto the back. Two members knocked up. Vanix disappearing, the shadow kill, getting rid of the back line. GB picks up the double with a fracture, takes Nets out. Hades able to trade, but he has lost all of his teammates.
Yeah, but I mean, that's great that Hades picked something up off of that, but now look at this. I mean, this is already going to be a Lord locked in for Homeboys. I was just saying, man, the lineup that they have, you know, going toe for toe, but Homeboys just demolished NIP Flash in that exchange.
I've been saying, man, Homeboys, they're really good in the brawls. And for NIP Flash, they really need to slow their pace down. But let's take a look at this STC replay.
So good. Again, Dawning Light into the wild charge, and then Shadowkill. Look at the back lines here. Curtizi has nowhere to go. Chibi goes back, grabs the double. Good check from Hades. Like I said, he's going to be part of the big obstacle that Homeboys has to get over for now. But if they manage to get a kill, man. Oh,
onto Zorn, Divine Judgment, final slash, everything used up. It's a good pick off. There's no trades on the board. Suppot is definitely looking for it, but he'll just be walking forward every single time. Now shadow kill, not used just yet. Chibi gets out with a quad shadow, barely, almost gets punished. NIP Flash having a little bit of a flank right now, but nobody's really walking up.
And at this point, for both these teams, again, it's like which jungler is better? Which one is going to be able to pull this off continuously until eventually they get shut down? Malefic Roar, too, on Hades is what's making him just kind of cut through everything. The penetration is there, and it looks like for Chibi, picked up the BOD. So a little more defensive has to come on here for both teams if they want to withstand that initial burst. But still, JPL doing an amazing job on the pick-off potential with the Kaja. And then we'll have to start to shift as we get to this wild charge again.
Right into the Mystic Field, right into the Dawning Light. Now Hades forced back, but the shadow kill continues. And Hades gets out. JPL doesn't have that luxury, the same luxury to actually escape with those dashes.
It doesn't get out, but it could have been way worse than they're able to survive. At least Hades doesn't go down. Dawning Light's dropped, and this is where the point now where, again, even if Udil struggled a little bit in the early game, look at him, he's got the 9 assists already. Dawning Light's already relatively on a low cooldown, and they just help push the waves in. The whole job is, all right, we're going to take control of this map. We're going to get these tier 2s down. Zorn's going to TP a little bit like we heard about, you know, and just get ready for the next objective in about a minute. But if they do this and they get all the space to work with, hey, Homeboys is happy.
Shadow kill. Oh, the Phoenix! Oh my goodness! Barely surviving. I thought for sure the Sky Piercer proc would have done it, but
I feel like it's a flex.
he gets out.
Yeah, you know, that's just, I'm here in your base.
Look at that damage.
Here's the damage. Be careful, right? I'm at this point, but Hades does the same thing. It's just, you know, he can't go ahead and use the quad shadows like a Hayabusa can. So all this relatively pretty much at a stalemate for now until this Lord does come up. And I think, again, this is where you see the Xavier pick start to shine. The great thing is for NIP Flash, if they have the initiation, whether that's now at this point for Diablo, he can flicker in, get the final slash, even if JPL doesn't land a Divine Judgment, or they just kind of reverse that and follow through it. Interesting, too, some defensive items coming up. Athena Shield now for JPL. Conceal going to be used. They're going to find Sapat here.
Sapat, good pull with I'm offended straight into the wild charge, but the Pure Effect gets him out. Diablo finding the final slash, unable to go for the follow. Phoenix in the midst of it all, not right now. As the Mystic Field catches the back line. Diablo going to be slayed by Chibi with the assassination with a shadow kill. Now Cortese waiting for the hills. Chibi going to be able to dismantle Hades. A full-on fight, and it's Homeboys who get the dub everywhere. They're only able to trade for Udil, and now Vanix, the goal laner, is getting ran down by the XP. Has the Monforce able to turn it around for a bit, but now with Chibi rotating over, Chibi dealing some damage. Able to find a double kill with the Zaman Force. Nets going back into the mid lane. Vanix versus Nets and Zorn, and he will have to concede the base turret, but he's already denied the Lord from Homeboys with that play.
Vanix has had enough. He's had enough of what's happened in the early portion of the game, and he goes and shuts down Chibi. And so both junglers went down in the whole exchange over the course of that. But man, by the hands of Vanix, they actually maintain what could have possibly been a push into the base even further. So Lord's still for the taking, and now it's just ultimately a reset.
Wild charge again. This time on the JPL is going to be burning down Nets with a Lycan Pounce, finding him. They're all onto the turret, or actually the Lord rather. Hades going for a Dawning Light. Oh, Zorn steals it away from NIP Flash. From the hands and the grasp of Hades, who was on him. He didn't get to retreat, he gets smacked in the face by Zorn. Homeboys are online.
That's a grok for you. That's Zorn. You wonder what he's been TPing for? It's for these moments right here. It takes the Lord, gets the cleanup kill, and now for Homeboys, they're going to be looking to march into possibly ending the game if possible. Cortese does pick up a Divine Glaive. There's a couple crowns over here. They might be able to clear the waves out enough unless Homeboys forces this game to end here. Lord makes its way to the base.
It's a big Lord into the base. I'm offended, connecting on the JPL, bringing it back into the Mystic Field as well. The Divine Judgment catches him with a final slash, bringing Sapat all over to the base in the bottom lane. Still Chibi with a shadow kill, jumping back in front of the quad shadow. Sapat finding a double, Cortese low, doesn't have the feather. Airstrike Spot turns him down, puts him down as well. He can go for the winner crown, but not for long as he gets caught under the Mystic Field. Homeboys strike first.
And the Homeboys come out swinging in.